Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Your Voice, Our Morrisville. And on this episode, we're going to do a debrief of the January council meeting. And this is something that we would like to do going forward. That after each month's council meeting, we'll talk about what happened, what didn't happen, what was said, and what was said by who. So this is a way for supporters who can be aware of the status of the priorities of the team and to reflect the attitude of the incumbent council members. We know these council meetings can be long, not everyone can attend or watch. So this is just a way to sort of get caught up quickly and just stay up to date on what's happening. So right now I am going to be joined by Debbie Colgan, Sean Ratty, and Peggy Walsh. Anna Langer cannot be with us today, but she might be joining us next month. And so let's just get right into it. So Debbie, I'm going to go to you. So I know that you made a motion to reopen the budget, which we discussed in our last podcast, and it was voted down in a 4-4 vote with the mayor voting not against reopening the budget. So now that the budget is final, what is your main concern here?
Well, I want to first emphasize that we were not proposing to raise taxes, as someone in the dais is stated. We were suggesting a more responsible, gradual reduction that would address some of the glaring problems of the 2026 budget. I was disappointed that some of my colleagues on council did not even discuss the issue, ask questions, or really even seem interested. For example, and particularly concerning, a very basic accounting principle was ignored. The 2026 budget counts a potential $500,000 grant as revenue, even though the money has not been received and can only be used for one specific purpose. And that grant is not shown as a matching expenditure. And instead, it's placed in the general fund where funds can be shifted around to cover other costs. This treatment makes the general fund appear $500,000 stronger than it actually is and overstates the funds available for general use. And then on top of that, the budget doesn't account for a significant outstanding loan, about $90,000 a year. So it's easy to cut tax revenue by $600,000 when you think you have almost $600,000 more in your coffers. But is it responsible to fool yourself in that way?
Wow, yeah, I mean, I can understand what you're saying. And so Debbie, let's go over to you and talking about the library.
Well,
Um,
we were told by the solicitor that our motion to post the librarian was inappropriate because we can't direct the borough manager when it comes to hiring or firing. We absolutely realize that, but it still makes no sense to me that we're delaying posting this position. Mr. Dillon asked for 3 months. Well, he's had over a year to post the librarian position and over half a year to fill the children's librarian position. In my mind, it's totally unnecessary to hire a consultant when what we need is a qualified librarian who can handle the restructuring, the staffing, the hiring, the grant writing, the scheduling, the ordering, the writing of state reports, etc., that the library needs to do. And we wouldn't be spending money on an unnecessary consultant. We're treating the library staff unjustly, I feel. Yes, they've held this library together. They've almost been heroic in what they have been asked to do and step up. But they haven't been hired to do this particular job. They're not qualified. And they also don't get paid for doing the job of a librarian. This seems to me to be a totally unfair labor practice, and I think we're taking advantage of their loyalty to the library in the borough. And I truly believe that this is just one more delaying tactic. It's no secret that Mr. Dillon thinks we do not need a library in Morrisville. He said we have a perfectly good library in Lower Makefield. And I tried to point out to him that many of our residents don't have easy access to cars. We are a walking borough. And this library has historic significance to the people of Morrisville, and we value it and cherish it and want to keep it running. I also know from what comments that were made that they're still considering foregoing the state funding, which amounts to $40,000 a year, give or take, because I don't think they want to fulfill the requirement that the library has to remain open 40 hours a week if you take state funding. So while we appreciate the fact that Mr. Dillon put $30,000 back into the library budget, more than they had before, I feel that it might just be a, a measure to enable them to stop this state funding. They're worried about hiring a full-time librarian because down the road, the state has said, the county library system has said they could possibly change the requirements to a full-time librarian if you take the state aid. That hasn't happened yet, and the wheels of the county and the state turn very slowly. So I think we should post the library position now, get a good librarian in there, and get our library back to operating 100%.
Okay. And while we're discussing budget and allocation of our resources, Sean, I'm going to go to you because I know that you have some thoughts about the police budget.
I'm not obviously shy ever about my support with the police force in general, but especially here in Morrisville. And advancing and increasing our police force, which for years has been struggling for being small, understaffed, and underfunded, is supposed to be and should be our priority. Funding for public services is the reason why things like EIT were passed. Even those who voted against it and voted against adding to the police force in the past are aware that this is what people want. I mean, it's on record. Citizens are want to put their support and their success towards these investments towards public services, and especially to some degree to that police force. But let's really get to the heart of the matter, which is supporting our police and providing them with what they need. Bettering the quality of life for officers so they can do a better job. That's just really the bottom line. When you have barely enough officers to cover absences, whether unexpected or vacations, you leave them stranded with and strained with massive amounts of overtime, which we've already been seeing in the budget. And then eventually you're going to get to the point of requests for time off being denied because there's simply no coverage. Calls and investigations, they become more difficult with less available staff. Truck enforcement has been lacking, which has been an issue for lots of us residents here in the first ward. Cost of living is going up, and they're going to want to use their personal time if they can get enough coverage for it to be able to spend time with their families or even just to manage their personal health, which is really important when you do something as stressful as being an officer. So how do you make a police force and a workforce feel better about their jobs and want to stay on? Well, we pay less than others. We offer less than others. Our part-time pay is less than others. And then they're going to get the extra strain and stress from just barely having their minimal needs. Now, other towns that I've been speaking to over the last few weeks have been realizing this over the last couple of years, and they've been finding it harder and harder to hire and retain more officers as well. So they started bulking up and properly staffing their police stations at their proper levels, and then maybe throwing in some part-timers to help sort of alleviate a little bit of the extra strain. We're treating the part-time officer option as a solution to the thing, but that's clearly not been working because we have barely managed to hit that goal even previously, nevertheless trying to add more to it now. I want people to not misunderstand or be misled by some of these ridiculous claims over budgets and how they work. Now, they aren't dumb, and while many of them I'm sure have never worked on budgets before themselves, you shouldn't treat them as if they're dumb for not knowing it. And I want people to be able to, look at this issue and not have a leader who's like waving a finger over there with a guided and narrow question to make them look the wrong direction and miss some of the more obvious things that are right in front of their faces. Now, I've made budgets for businesses for years before I switched into teaching, and I still do for other groups I do work with. And the bottom line is, it's not a wish list. You don't just get to request whatever you want and say whatever you want on it. Some groups might ask you for a wish list to kind of get a gauge on where you ultimately would like to have your goal, but that's not what you submit for a budget request. And I don't know any person in business or management who's ever submitted a budget with just whatever they wanted to go with it. And the police know this. They have to make the requests separately from those type of budgets. They are told by the borough what is the expectation and how much they're likely going to have, and they have to make that budget amount work for whatever their needs are. And oftentimes it's to stretch it as far as possible. So I don't want people to be naive into thinking and being told, oh, they're just asking for what they wanted and that's all they needed, because it's never worked that way. And if people come to there with that mindset, it clearly shows to me you have not worked with budgets and have an understanding of it to try to portray it to people that it's that simple. And listen, I don't subscribe to the mindset that I've been told to have, which is that our job should be about getting the most that we can out of something for the cheapest price. I mean, a reasonable and affordable price, absolutely. But going the cheapest route has not always been what gets you the best results. And I believe when it comes to public services and public needs, so like police, public works, libraries, you get the quality of what you invest in. Public services, businesses, infrastructure, those are some of the things our borough and township should be investing in to get better results. And especially if we're doing better financially. So asking more from our people in these various roles while offering less than what others are is a recipe for a long-term failure. And honestly, it's just going to come to discontent. Library, public works, and of course, like police have been the big thing I've been fighting for. And I've seen this mindset in corporations in my time in businesses, and it always leads to subpar results with people not receiving the benefit and only the company benefiting. And our borough is not just a business, but it's a service to the people first and foremost. And I want to make sure we know that whether you live here or work here, our service is to people, not just the business side.
That's a really good point, Sean, that that there is an ROI involved and you kind of you get what you pay for. And if you want loyalty from staff, be it police or public works, you have to treat them right, show them respect. I can hear the frustration in your voice. So what did you come away from this council meeting feeling like? Peggy, can you answer that?
Well, I think I'm really confused about the role of council member. We had no agenda meetings. We had no work meetings. We had no opportunity for genuine discussion except on the dais. If past is prologue, we'll get the agenda on a Monday morning for a Tuesday night meeting. Now, luckily, I'm retired, but I don't know how working people would have the time to really study and read through a multi-page packet that can go up to 40, 47 pages. So what I see from my limited experience thus far is that you've got two people, the council president and the borough manager, who are making all the decisions. And then the expectation for council seems to be that we come in and rubber stamp without asking any questions or raising concerns. And then when we do ask questions and try to be more informed or try to point out our concerns, we're labeled as obstructionists and critics. And listen, I was a district coordinator for a secondary for a large public high school system. I had two high schools and three middle schools under me. And if I had treated my stakeholders the way that they seem to be treating us, which is you have to agree with everything I say. I don't want to hear any discussion. I create these agendas. There's no way for any kind of input from you. I think I would have been an absolute failure as a leader. And that is not the way that I led the people that I worked with.
And Sean, going back to you, I know that hearing from the public was something that was very important to you when you raised that issue. Can you explain to me why you think that it's important to hear from the public at council meetings?
Absolutely. I mean, we are here to listen to our constituents, and that's what they wanted. They want their time respected, they want their needs met, and moving public comment from the back to the front where it was before is a simple fix that doesn't affect our quality overall to do our job, but just is a courtesy we can extend back to the residents who are waiting patiently to be able to talk about. I've been either calling or reaching out with many different areas and boroughs and townships over the last few weeks through mutual friends or even just general research. And it's kind of shocking how different we really are from other places. 12 of the neighboring townships, 10 of those 12 have comments first. More than half of them actually have two comments, a one before, one after. Sometimes it's agenda versus a non-agenda comment section. I've seen a few that have it's open-ended either way. But that's more than half of them off of that, and only two so far that are similar to ours in terms of structure. Um, then I think only one of the ones that I spoke to so far that I was able to confirm for that doesn't have a planning or an agenda meeting. Everyone else, it's at least a minimum of two meetings every single month just to make sure everything's sorted out. And that way it makes the business meeting in general go a little faster because those discussions have occurred. So residents want to speak on the agenda specific items, always have the option to, if they want to speak on those agenda items, they have the options to remain and sit through everything to get that comment section when that particular item comes up. And that's great. But making everybody else who has any other non-specific items have to sit there and wait, you're just kind of making this a grueling process when they just might want to bring up a simple matter. It might be something they want to get the council's attention, or maybe it has an easy solution, or they're looking just for advice. They don't want to sit through an entire meeting for a separate matter to speak on, most of the time, which is not even addressed anyway. So they're just trying to put that comment out there. So obviously, we love them to stay and remain, but that should be optional, not kind of if you don't stay and deal with it, then you don't get a chance to speak. But instead of listening to those requests, work and accommodating others. I have colleagues who respond to things like, "I'm not allowed to leave in the middle of this, so why do I have to sit up here all night?" That's because we're elected officials. That's why. We serve the people and their needs. That's the purpose of public service. We serve them. We only have one official meeting a month currently, while almost everybody else has at least two with an agenda and a planning meeting. Um, so us staying for one meeting that whole time, well, yeah, that's what we're elected to do. That's our job. Is it the funnest part? Sure. I'm sure there's nights where like, yeah, we kind of want to go. But once a month is certainly not a lot to ask for that. And asking questions in the proper way is a way to govern with openness and transparency. So shutting down responses, avoiding answers, or just saying they rely on others, it's not getting you the results you want with people when they're coming up and asking for stuff. Don't treat people as dumb. They see that this attitude has worked before in our past and how it's damaged things for us and even other townships. So respect the people, give them a few things that can really help out. And this is a quality issue. This is not like, overthrowing the entire system. It's making simple changes for the benefit of others.
It sounds like you guys are really fighting the good fight, just trying to paddle upstream and get things done. It sounds a little overwhelming, but I want to give each one of you a chance to say something positive. Say something positive about the town, about your experience so far. So first, I'm going to go to you, Debbie. Tell me something good.
Well, I'm just going to continue to advocate for what my constituents told me they care about. We ran on a very specific platform of transparency, fiscal responsibility, public input, saving the library, and search, and our other cherished historical spaces and open spaces in the town. And then searching for our own full-time borough manager. Once again, not to denigrate Mr. Dillon at all, we appreciate what he's done, but it's time for us to start to look for our own full-time manager. We're happy to work together, and I'm very happy to collaborate. I've done it all my life with people, but that doesn't mean that I'm just going to fall in line to get along if I don't understand what's going on. And then I'd also like to say that the four of us are going to a boot camp training next week, all day Friday and all day Saturday. So one of our colleagues urged us twice that we didn't know what we were talking about, and we wouldn't know until we went to this boot camp. Well, we are going to the boot camp. I feel that we have known what we're talking about all along, but maybe after these 2 days, we'll have more credibilities in that colleague's eyes.
All right, Debbie.
Well, I just want to say that we will continue to speak up for the people and advance ideas that reflect the public will. And even though it's tough right now, we will succeed.
And Sean?
Well, I mean, I said, it certainly is an uphill battle, but that's why we need to keep pushing so we can actually help move things forward for the town. And I know I've greatly appreciated over the last week or so where I've had a number of people who've been reaching out with their own concerns that they've been wanting to bring up, and for thanking for kind of putting that push out there to help bring their voice up front for council concerns and issues. So it's been a real positive response from everybody as I've been speaking with them. So it just encourages me more to go, you know what, this definitely feels it's the right matter for what people are looking for.
Great, great. So I'm glad to hear that. Just want to tell people this is our wrap up for the January Borough Council meeting. We will be doing one of these every month. So stay tuned to to find out the thoughts of the newest council members, and stay tuned for more. And thank you for listening to Your Voice, Alan Marcel.